even though our ad spend for Meta, just Instagram and Facebook, has been our bread and butter of our marketing spend, YouTube was selected more than Facebook ad or Instagram ad. And we weren't spending any money on YouTube. Some of our customers were influential on YouTube. They used our product in a very real way.
Welcome to another episode of the E-commerce Toolbox Expert's Perspective. Joining us today, I'm really excited for this episode. We got Dan Demsky. He's the CEO and co-founder of Unbound Merino. He's not too far from me out in Toronto. And I was telling him before the show, I'm excited to do a entrepreneurial story, which is often not what I get to do on this podcast. So welcome, Dan.
Well, I'm glad I could scratch the entrepreneur itch, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
Cool. Dan, you got to tell us, how'd you go from an Indiegogo campaign to a $40 million e-com business? Talk to us a bit about the good, the bad, the ugly.
Well, you know what? The crowdfunding campaign is a really good way to validate if you have product market fit. So I wanted to create this business. I felt like it was a good idea, and I didn't know how to go about getting into this industry, how to get into the clothing industry, how to start an e-com business. And the crowdfunding campaign was a way to, one, get the funds to fund the inventory, two, do it cheaply because, you could put all your effort into the brand and into the video, into the photography and all of that stuff, and the prototypes, obviously. But you get the validation that you found the product market fit. If the crowdfunding campaign's successful, you get the money, and people have basically said, yes, we want this, and they're voting with their wallets. So we put all our energy into that. And once that was done, we felt almost with certainty. I mean, we might be a little delusional. We're like, this thing's going to work for sure. But it doesn't work until you have your own website and people are going to your website and checking out. That's a real business. But it was kind of frictionless from there, that we put all the energy into grinding it out and getting that crowdfunding campaign going. And once that was going, we had 2,000 customers that were looking for us and fell in love with our product and were wanting to come back and buy more. And they were telling their friends. So when we set up our Shopify store, which would be a little under half a year after our crowdfunding campaign was successful, before we even launched, there were people finding our website and buying stuff. So we were open for business like the day we launched the site. And from there, it was just started snowballing, and we started doing Facebook ads, and we started dealing with influencers and all that stuff you need to do to get people onto your website. But we had the momentum right from the get-go.
Very cool. Was this your first startup, or did you have other companies ahead of time that weren't successful, or did you just kind of start off with this and hit the jackpot?
I would say my first startup was when I was maybe like 7 or 8 years old. Not like a real business, but I was always in my blood. I was going, knocking on doors, shoveling snow, doing whatever I could to make money. But I never finished school. I started my first business sort of inadvertently. I was doing freelance video production with my best buddy. And we would go on Craigslist and we'd look for some gigs. And we worked really hard to deliver really good, whether it was videography or editing or the whole soup to nuts video production. We worked really hard, and we started getting more and more gigs, and the small little projects turned into small companies, into medium companies, into big corporations, and we incorporated our own business and started hiring people. So my first business sort of happened without us really planning on starting a business. And that was my early 20s, and we had a team of about 18 people, and I ran that for 7 years, and it was really fun and really exciting. But toward the end of it, I really found myself exhausted, and I wanted to create an e-commerce business. I had this idea in the back of my head that it was a better business model because all the effort that we put in, we could scale it differently, and you could make money while you sleep. So I knew that rather than selling our services to clients, I'm like, I want to sell products to customers. Didn't know what that product would be, but I thought about it for years, came up with ideas with my other friends, or with my co-founders or my best friends. And that sort of led to Unbound.
Makes a lot of sense. And it's very similar to our founding story, where we wanted to start a business more than we wanted to solve this exact problem. But how'd you land on Merino? Like, why that product?
So we would come up with ideas. We would meet up every 1 to 2 weeks and just ideate. So we'd sit around at a pub with a scrap piece of paper and a pen, or around a chalkboard, or whatever it was that we could just sort of map out ideas that we thought of on our own and try to stress test them with each other. And we did that for a good, I'm forgetting the timeline, but it was over a year, under 2 years. We'd just come up with ideas. And the idea for Unbound came from my own need for it. So I was looking for a way to pack light when I traveled because I found bringing a medium or a large suitcase when I was going to certain places was just really cumbersome and it kind of got in the way of the trip. So I was on Reddit and on Google and I was digging around trying to find ways to pack with just a carry-on for overseas travel. And I came across this Reddit thread and this guy was saying, my hack for traveling light is I pack merino wool t-shirts because they're antibacterial, they're odor resistant, and they're wrinkle resistant. So if I'm going overseas for a couple weeks, I don't need to pack 14 t-shirts. I can pack 3 because I can rewear them. And even if I sweat through them, they'll never smell because they're antimicrobial, antibacterial, they're wrinkle resistant. They're like a miracle for traveling. So you can't find the laundry machine for a few extra days. It doesn't matter. And I thought, wow, that sounds interesting. Let me go find some merino wool t-shirts. So I went on a hunt to find shirts. I went to all the stores in Toronto that would sell them. So there was these outdoor outfitters kind of stores and Patagonia and Mech is in, you would know Mech because you're from Canada. It's like REI in the States. And I found merino wool t-shirts, but they were all made for the outdoorsman. It had the boxy cut. It had a reflective logo. It wasn't stylish, not for going out for a nice dinner. You couldn't dress it up. However, I did buy a few. And I fell in love with the fabric. I'm like, this thing actually works. It performs just as promised. But I felt like I couldn't go to the places where I wanted to go when I traveled because I wasn't going portaging with a canoe over my head. I was going to a cocktail bar in Hong Kong. And I remember sitting in a place like that and feeling like, I don't know, I feel out of place. I feel underdressed. And I was wondering, why is it that nobody's making nicer fitting, nicer looking merino wool t-shirts that I can put on a nice pair of pants, put on a nice watch, and I feel like I fit in. It has that nice fit. It looks good. It looks sharp. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. I'm looking for an idea. This is it. That's it. I'll make it for myself. And I was so into wanting to make these t-shirts that I almost didn't care if it didn't work. Because I'm like, if this doesn't work, I'll go make a box full of these prototype t-shirts. I'll have like 100 of them or whatever it is that I have. This is a win-win. I'm going to walk away with a box of t-shirts that I really, really want for myself or my dream business. So hopefully it's the dream business, but I'll settle. At least I scratched the itch. And it turns out there's a lot of people who thought that was a cool idea or maybe it appealed to them. A lot of people maybe just like me. And that was validated by the crowdfunding campaign. Our goal was to sell $30,000 in pre-orders and we did 400,000 and we were off to the races.
So is that kind of like your seed round then, or did you have to go and raise additional capital to actually get it off the ground above and beyond the crowdfunding?
Well, that wasn't a seed round. Those were not investors. Those were pre-orders of the product.
Sure. I mean, it's kind of acting as if it's like a seed round.
It's like it, yeah. I mean, it was enough money. So it gave us enough money to cover our first round of inventory. And it was profitable because we made all this money with no overhead. So that was our additional money to fund a little bit of the business, and that included us going overseas to meet our suppliers, having a little capital in the bank to rent a storage locker, which served as our first warehouse, to get packaging, all of that stuff. So we had a little bit of money, but we never raised any money. We still to this day have completely bootstrapped it. I think the momentum that we had from the get-go allowed us to just run this thing with cash. So never raised any money and we continue to grow.
And you even batted off during 2020 to 2022, the crazy people that were probably after investing in you?
Well, 2020 was the first rough go that we had because we're entirely positioned as a travel product.
Oh, that's interesting, actually. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah. So if you wanted to invest in us in 2020, maybe be nuts because it was the first time where it's like we had this explosive growth and completely flatlined. Well, something really interesting happened there, though. All the stores were closed everywhere. So e-commerce as a whole blew up, but we were a travel product. So we kind of had opposing forces at work here. It's like people were going online to buy everything, but they weren't looking for travel products. And all of our marketing was really, really dialed in around the messaging of pack light while you travel. Our website was really dialed in, pack light while you travel. Like all those little iterations you make and those A/B tests you do to refine the sales copy and your advertising and on your landing pages and everything of that sort. So all of a sudden, all this work that we've done and all this momentum that we were building was worthless. And we had to pivot. Like, who are we as a company? And we tried to adapt. So we did a cozy, it's comfortable, work from home. sustainable, like all of the other things that would make sense, we sort of leaned on for a bit. And at the end of that year, 2020, we grew 1%. Our growth was explosive before. Like we were growing more than 100% every year. And then we grew 1%. And I sat around with the guys and was like, guys, we didn't grow like we did last year, but we grew. Like, let's count our lucky stars. So it was a weird blessing in disguise because they say success is a lousy teacher. Because we were doing really, really well and we were growing with momentum, we were spending money a little bit more loosely than we should have been. We were getting a little heavy on the spend. And when this scare happened, it was forced us to look at everything we're spending money on and just cut, and lean out the business. We were very small at the time. We had a few employees, but we didn't need to lay anyone off, but we needed to cut the business coach and all the extra spending. We needed to be a little wiser with our marketing spend and make sure that it had a good return. And we just tightened up and we became better. We became a better business. And then when things turned around, we were running a little bit leaner and better. The same thing's happening to us right now with tariffs. Because 80% of our customers are in the States and we're importing into the States, all of a sudden the tariff situation has been the second coming of looking doom straight in the face. But we're going through the same thing. We're tightening up. We're making sure that we have no superfluous spending and just cleaning up. And you just get through it. It's kind of like the cycle of business, and you have to stare it right in the eyes, stay optimistic, and keep moving forward. So fortunately, we're continuing to grow still.
There you go. I love that. I mean, I didn't really look at it through that lens before, so that makes a lot of sense. And when I was doing research before the show, I saw that a lot of your marketing earlier on was like a lot of like founder-centric storytelling. It was kind of like, hey, I wore a merino wool for 45 days straight. And that was very critical in part of the marketing early on. Like, is that still core to the strategy now? Have you since like kind of scaled and tried to step away from that? How does that evolve as your sales go up?
So I wouldn't say it's core to our marketing message, but it works, and it works really well. So if the founder's in it, it could be, I'm not a model. I'm just a regular looking guy, and maybe that works. For whatever reason, when my face is in it, it works, which is, I'll accept it. Like if I could go into a video and, the marketing team's always asking me, let's do a video with you in the warehouse. Let's do a video with you on a plane and this and that, because it works. I'll do it because the marketing works and it's fun to get out there and create some content with them. But because it works, they put a lot of money behind these ads. And sometimes I'll be sitting in a sauna and I'll see some guy staring at me. And I'm like, why is this guy staring at me? I'm just wearing a towel. And then they'll say, you're that guy from those ads. I had someone in my building the other day said, are you Dan from those t-shirt ads? So it's weird to get noticed for that, but they work. It's not the core of our marketing because a lot of other things work, like still photos, model photos, other messages, influencers, white labeling their stuff. We put a lot of creative out there and we look for the thing that has signs of life. And if it does, we'll do iterations of that and just try to expand on that. When I'm in the videos, it happens to be one of the things that still works. So we still do it.
I love it. I also was reading, my marketing team was talking to me a bit about how you guys have done really well on YouTube without having paid placements. So people are kind of just picking up your product, talking about it. Like, are you manufacturing those moments or are those like truly organic? And how do you get there?
Well, it started truly organic. We have this post-purchase survey. Someone checks out and they buy something. You've seen this before. If you bought anything online, how did you first hear about us? And you can click Facebook ad or radio or whatever it is, podcast. And even though our ad spend for Meta, just Instagram and Facebook, has been our bread and butter of our marketing spend, and by far the most we've spent on marketing, for many, many time periods, YouTube was selected more than Facebook ad or Instagram ad. And we weren't spending any money on YouTube. We weren't paying influencers. We weren't paying for YouTube ads. We were none. However, some of our customers were influential on YouTube, not like these huge YouTubers, but if they could have 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 subscribers, but those subscribers are very, very loyal to them, or they're very influenced by them. They have like a really, really powerful connection to that audience. And they used our product in a very real way. And they talked about it because it's kind of a travel hack. It's like a useful tip. It's not like, hey, these shirts are cool. These are the coolest shirts. Like, these are useful. This changed the way I travel. So for these people who are kind of optimizers in life, they would talk about all sorts of things that are going on in their life and how they live and how they do these little intelligent life hacks. Our t-shirts being one of them. And they were just driving so much traffic and so many sales that we were like, we got to look at this as a serious viable strategy. I'm like, so that was the largest driver of sales to our product. And from that group of people, we would have a follow-up question, who's the YouTuber that sent you to us? And 80% of all of that traffic was just 3 YouTubers. So we just got together and said, well, if there's 3 people are driving as much, if not more sales than our entire Meta advertising spend, which is an enormous spend. I'm like, what if we had 30 of these people? How do we find them? So this is not that long ago. So now we're sort of in this pursuit of who are like the authentic, like we don't want to pay people just like anybody, like spray and pray and just hope that they drive traffic. Like the thing that makes it work. And I asked one of our creators, I said to him, what is it about you that you think makes it click for our customers, that they actually listen to you and they go and they buy it and they say, it's because you didn't come to me and convince me to just advertise for you. I did it completely and utterly authentically. And he said, and I think this is really, really commendable on his behalf, is he said, what a lot of these other big advertising brands that are venture funded have come up to him, like BetterHelp and AG1. And I'm not knocking these products at all. I have no opinion on them, but they have massive advertising budgets and they just buy all the ad space on the internet. They actually make it hard for companies like us because they'll spend whatever. And he said, BetterHelp has come to me, AG1's come to me, but I don't use these. So I don't talk to them. I don't even answer their emails. He said, but with you guys, I was talking about it without you guys talking to me. Since then, we've worked a deal with him where we give him product, we give him an affiliate commission, but it's still authentic. It has always was authentic. So we're trying to find more people who genuinely make use of this and they're talking about it not because they're getting paid, but because they actually find it useful. And that's just expanded that program a ton.
That's really cool. I wish I would have known this. It's kind of a bit of a joke between my wife and I, but like we go on trips and I never check anything in. And when we went on our honeymoon, we were gone for 2 weeks and I was like, yeah, no, we're not checking in any bags. So I'm just a carry-on guy. So it's good to know. I'll have to check out. I didn't know about the merino wool. Like candidly, I didn't know the t-shirt kind of side of it at all, to be honest.
It's going to be a game changer. Like it is, if I discovered Unbound, exactly as we've made this brand when I was looking for it 10 years ago, before we had the idea to start this thing, I would just be a loyal customer. Like they're just great fitting. Look, I know I'm sound like I'm selling my product. I am, and I always will talk about it, but it's like, it's legitimately just a sort of, it kind of changes the paradigm in how you look at clothing. Or you never really thought the clothing could have a dual purpose and have a benefit outside of just being a shirt you put on your back. And it is. I also find like my closet is very, very light on clothing. It's almost like I have a uniform. I have probably more than I should have because I'm always testing our new products and new colors and things like that. But I'll go through my clothing and every few months I'll donate a bunch. And I just like living with less. I travel less, I live with less. It just feels great.
I love that. And as we're looking to wrap up, something that I'm really curious to hear, because it kind of mirrors a lot of our story. Sounds like you built the brand with some of your best friends. I mean, there's no silver bullet, but obviously there's ups and downs in business. There's a lot of pressure that starts to blend between professional and personal relationships when you're working with your friends. Talk us a bit about like, how have you kept that in check? Any kind of high level thoughts or tips or tricks on that front?
So you hear it all the time. Business and friendship don't mix. And I think it's just the craziest advice of all time, or the craziest saying, or craziest adage, whatever you want to call it. I go to work every day with people I like. And work is the thing that you do where you spend the most time in your life. Most of your waking hours, a big chunk of it is working. Why would you not want to do it with people you like? The thing that makes it work, working with your best friends, there's a couple things. One, I think we're already aligned on a lot of our core values. That's why we're friends. And core values are a really, really important thing to have run really strong in your business. We're also able to be really candid with each other. They tell me when I'm sucking. And I know this is not like out of trying to hurt me. It's about trying to make me be better. They have my best interests at heart. We care about helping each other win. There's so many reasons why it works, but we're willing to have the hard conversations. And when things get hard, we have a thing once a month that we do called the same page meeting, where we reserve like, hey, I really need to rip into you right now. Like you're awful at this or whatever. And We check our egos at the door. We try to help each other grow, help each other get better. And we still have fun as friends. We still make time to go hang out, go to concerts, do what we need to do together. But the business always gets infused into it. And we like talking about the business. So I think business and friendship, it's like the best combination of all time. It's like a perfect wine pairing. You just got to make sure that you guys have the hard conversations, but also you do need to have complementary skills. You can't do it just because you're friends. Fortunately, I got lucky. My best friends happen to fill a lot of the gaps, and we happen to be complementary opposites when it comes to work, which has worked out really well for me.
Very cool. I think you and I have very similar stories on that front. We've been at this for almost a decade, and you know how it is. So no, that's really cool. I mean, Dan, this is awesome. Great episode. Really excited to have you on. I appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, I'm going to check out your store for sure.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
The e-commerce toolbox Expert Perspectives is brought to you by Noivo. To find out more about Noivo and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noivo.com. That's Noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the e-commerce toolbox Expert Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noivo, thanks for listening.